Welcome, dear Thrivers, to another Thriver Talk to inspire you. And I'm so thrilled that many of you are enjoying these talks on how to heal for real from narcissistic abuse in accelerated timeframes from the inside out. Before we dive into what I believe is going to be an amazing interview, I want to ask for your help in spreading this message. So if you find value in what you're about to see and hear, please take a moment to like this video and leave a comment with your thoughts and share this video with anyone who may benefit from it. All right, so let's get started. Today, I'm speaking to the lovely Meredith Okeo, who is the host of Face Your Shite. I'm not going to say the word, but I may as well. Heal Yourself podcast. Now, Meredith is so real. She's so on it. And she approached me not long ago to do an interview with her on her podcast. And she let me know at the time that she was a narcissistic abuse recovery program and NARP graduate. And this had a big part to do with her life now and her soul mission and what she's creating out there. And when she did my interview, she asked me all about my story, but now it's time to reciprocate with hers. So Meredith, thank you for coming on. It's awesome to have you here.
Thank you so much, Melanie. It's truly full circle from doing the modules and watching you on YouTube and doing the work and sitting here now. So thank you.
It's so my pleasure. Okay, so Meredith, let's share with the viewers what the basis of your story was, who the abuser was.
Yeah. So my main interaction with narcissistic abuse came from my family and a whole really generational narcissism. My sister was the first that I had really closely experienced it with because I would say, closest to her. But there was a whole toxic kind of family dynamic, uh, codependent, narcissistic dance, as everyone here listening probably knows about, just within the whole family. And it's interesting how it's passed down generationally because my mother and her sister had the same relationship where
Wow,
my aunt,
interesting.
yeah, her sister was a narcissist, and my mom, even still to this day, continues to have a relationship with her, being that she deems some connection as, better than no connection at all. So that's
Mm.
kind of gives you a little bit of an illustration of the background of how all of this happened. I obviously, as I've spoken about, was toxic family, dysfunctional family, and I am an empath. I didn't even realize
Mm.
what narcissism was. It was a very rude awakening, right? For a lot of us
Mm.
when you do, but it's such a gift to also do NARP, to realize what we have been experiencing and we haven't been able to find the words for it. It is so, and to really come back home to ourselves, there is literally nothing else you can do, like no amount of detoxing, no amount of
Mm.
other healing modalities. If you don't have your own back and you don't feel safe in your body, nothing
Mm.
else will work. Doesn't matter. Like, that diet won't work. The lifestyle, like, no, like nothing will work without you. So that's what I learned through this.
It's so true. I love what Debbie Ford said, that there's no putting ice cream on top of poop. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the poop is our internal trauma. So many of us, I know that we haven't been lazy and we did a lot of work. I did a ton of therapy. I did a ton of yoga. I did a ton of everything and anything until shifting the trauma out. So
Yeah.
at the worst, what were your symptoms and how bad were things for you, Meredith?
Yeah, so I experienced sexual abuse at a very young age
Mm.
when I actually, because of the toxic environment I had been living in, I just thought that's what women's role was. That's what happened. So I didn't even realize that I had been robbed, essentially. It was only until I had been victimized and adults that didn't really know how to guide and protect and take responsibility for, because when you are a child, you are codependent, right? You're learning all of these things. It started, that was a very, very rude awakening into, realizing people don't really say what they mean, all of these things. So
Mm.
after that, I developed
Yeah.
an eating disorder.
Mm.
I wasn't really even supposed to live past I was 18. I'm 35 years old now. And through all that time,
Wow,
right after,
that's huge.
yeah,
So big.
yeah, yeah. And after the sexual abuse, I had started my period. And so it was kind of everything at the same time, all of these like hormonal changes. And I had extremely, extremely painful periods that later on was diagnosed as endometriosis.
Mm.
Unfortunately, because I was gaslit by doctors, I was told it's all in your head, just have a baby and it'll go away. Because it took so long to become diagnosed, it actually became embedded in my pelvic muscle. So there's nothing, by Western medicine standards, there's nothing I could do that's chronic. You can't remove it, none of that, which, the root cause of it, you can't fix by just removing, but that's a whole other episode and story. And I did heal myself, not only from the eating disorder, but also from endometriosis. And doing NARP was probably the biggest thing that I did. I had healed myself of an eating disorder through my artwork. Um, but
Beautiful.
through with NARP, with endo, I had that since I was 12 years old and I'm about
Mm.
4 years healed now. So that's 17 years of just debilitating pain every single month. I've crossed over to the other side, all of that stuff. And
Wow.
I was able to tackle that with NARP. I did a lot of heavy lifting, obviously, like I mentioned with
Mm.
detoxing and stuff, but it was really the
Mm.
missing piece that took it to real healing.
Mm. And it's
Yeah.
so incredible what the trauma in our body generates emotionally and physically to get our attention. But that's the breakdown. And when the trauma's gone, the body can reset and heal itself. And yeah, I mean, I'm like you, Meredith, too. A lot of people have healed what we were told by Western medicine was not able to be healed.
Mhm.
Myself was the brain damage and the adrenal malfunctions, and they all healed. And I love that you healed that. But a lot of empaths and a lot of people that have gone into narc abuse have had sexual abuse. It's a big, big deal. It's such a
Yeah.
big deal. So thank you for
Huge.
sharing that. And I hope that that can give other women beautiful hope, because you've got a beautiful husband too now who's totally on your wavelength, and you guys are an amazing team. And, I saw him on camera just before. He's just, he's really committed, and it's beautiful. I love it. Okay. So when all of this stuff was going on in your body, you kind of mentioned a little bit about what you've been trying to heal.
Mhm.
And what else had you been trying to do to heal and get well from, the emotional stuff as well as the physical breakdowns?
You mean like other modalities that I tried?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And certainly, I feel like healing, well, I know healing is a
Mm-hmm.
journey. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
like one day, I'm healed. Okay, the work's over. It is a
No,
journey. Right.
correct.
Yeah, it is a journey. So,
Absolutely.
because you can't even conceptualize and conceive of what is on the menu until you reach a certain level of healing. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was healing to me, but I
Yeah.
didn't know I could have all this more energy and I could have like no pain. But you can't even like conceive of that at certain levels. So my healing journey
Yeah.
definitely began with my own creativity and my artwork and
Yeah.
reconnecting to self. So I would
Yeah.
say it started there. It started, and then when I met my husband, he's a Reiki master. And so I received a
Mm,
Reiki attunement, which was
mm,
great. And we have the same
mm,
teacher. And definitely those two things helped me connect to myself, right?
mhm,
I obviously had to educate myself on nutrition, on food, on
mm.
because what's on the shelves isn't really food.
Oh
It's not,
gosh, no.
it's
Oh
not.
no.
Yeah. So that's a whole world right there.
It is.
Yeah. We could have a whole series on that, on the lies there.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
yeah, so I
how
would
were
say,
these methods in as far as effectiveness, like they got you so far,
mhm.
but then when did NARP come into your life? So what was happening in your life and what was the defining moment when you found my work?
It's really interesting. My mom actually told me about your work because she had been dealing with my aunt for all these years and been abused and listens to your work as well as, others in the field. And I was dealing with not actually my sister, I was dealing with a studio in business. I had a studio mate that was incredibly abusive. I couldn't
Mhm.
understand why this was happening. And she recommended, well, there's this thing called narcissism. And you can't, these people, they will not heal. They cannot heal. And at that
Yeah.
time, I kind of had this belief like, no matter what, everyone can heal. Like, what? Like as an empath, as like a spiritual
Yes.
person, we're like, what are
Yes.
you talking about? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't have that there's no room for neutrality and being politically correct and all this crap when you're dealing with bullies that are literally trying to steal parts of your soul. You just can't. It has to be so like boundaries, all of that stuff. Realize waking up to that whole world, it was a little bit, that's what sparked it. And then I started to see all of the relationships, specifically with my sister. I would say that was what sparked it. Is like one day I just turned around and I literally saw this just like, I think I had asked her to like clean the bathroom or something. And I literally saw this like demon face. Like it was,
Mm.
I had like a spiritual wake up call that was like,
Wow.
you don't understand like what you're really dealing with. And you really need to like get in reality. It's not about being negative or positive. It's just telling the truth to yourself, you know?
So
So
true. So that was almost like a spiritual intervention showing you.
yeah, well, I wanted her to be a part. I had just started educating myself about uh women's health and hormones, and I
Mm.
wanted so badly for her to be a part of it because she's in the health field and we all have the need to be seen and heard, and especially me. That was definitely a hook for me with my relationship with her and with my family. And
Yeah.
that's how it continued as I wanted her to be a part of my life and I would it was this constant push and pull, cold shouldering. There was other like abusive things, but that's really that seeing that and feel it was more of like just a feeling of just like you're
Mm.
under attack. You need to get you need to stop like living in this world of just like, oh, everything's positive because that makes me feel better. Like tell the truth.
Oh, yes. And it can be so spiritual bypass. It goes on a lot in the new age industry. And we could talk about that for 2 hours, how it's just about just think positive, just manifest positive. But no, you got to deal with your stuff. And the stuff is on the inside. So we're
Mm-hmm.
going to talk about that soon. What made you, Meredith, decide to take the step to use NARP to heal?
So what actually made me decide to use NARP? I was really guided to it.
Mhm.
When I was introduced to your work through my mom, I went and I looked like on YouTube and Facebook and looked at all this stuff that you had done. as well as other people. And I just felt called to NARP because of the spiritual component, because it's addressing that reality. And no, not a lot of other people are really addressing the spiritual reality,
Mm.
which is what I felt from my sister the most. And I couldn't explain it. Like would have psychic attacks and breakdowns, like
Yes.
similar psychotic episodes, and people think that it's you being mentally ill, not
Yes.
having the education, understanding, well, look at who they're around. Why is this happening? And of course, it is
Mm.
me, but that's also being impacted by an entire situation with people that just don't have an understanding of that. And you get seen as who they really are when you don't have the boundaries and all that.
So true. And you're in a spiritual battle for your soul. And that's
Yes,
why trying to deal with this logically, the mainstream way, it just doesn't work.
it doesn't. It doesn't.
Mm-mm.
And I think, listen, like it's interesting to intellectually understand, but if you really want real healing, like it just, like you say so many times, it could take lifetimes to figure it out. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why it doesn't work.
Yeah. So, what was it like knowing that you weren't alone, that people had had your journey, they understood, they were orientated into healing from the inside out? What was that like when you came into the community?
Well, I will say I did a lot, and you even said it too. I did a lot of this in the background.
I
I
never knew you.
and I made that decision because I noticed that I had a pattern of explaining and looking to even it being subtle, looking to
Mm.
others for that validation.
Mm.
And when
Codependency.
totally, and when I started, and
Mm.
we're born into it, especially as women. It is literally society trains you so
Absolutely.
you can't beat yourself up and say like all these things, but
Mm.
oh my gosh, when you wake up to that and you're like, what? This is why I haven't really been
Mm.
hearing myself, seeing myself. When I saw those parts of me doing the NART modules that had been totally run over, invalidated by things like personal development, just tell yourself a different story, just, and for some
Yeah.
people, affirmations and stuff, that it's great at a certain point. But for me,
Yeah.
I just felt like it was all of this on the outside, other people telling me
Mm.
how I am, and no one can tell you who you are but you. And
Mm.
as I was doing NARP, I just kind of was like, and also for me, the purge of all of this was so great that I just kind of went into like a cocoon. And of
Mm.
course, I had my husband and my
Mm.
friends, but I really wanted to not look to anyone else, but go within myself. And that was just a personal choice for me. But I will say, now I am, after doing all this stuff now, like with the podcast and with connecting with you, being on the show, now those are conversations I'm exploring with other people because I have my own um, opinion and my own perspective, really solid understanding of what's happening on it.
This is such a good point, and I love that this has come up because yes, I when you came forward and you're like, I'm one of your biggest fans and stuff. I said, I don't even know you. You're not in our forum, you're not in our but what's, great that point that you said, and we really encourage people in the NARP forum that if you're used to relying on people for your answers and your direction all the time, it's best to really just start doing the inner work and catch yourself when you're doing that so you can build that vital relationship with trusting your inner being, your intuition, what's right for your soul. And NARP is all about giving you back to yourself. And then there's people who maybe really are battling alone and they feel really alone and filled with shame. And we're like, please come forward and post in the forum and ask for help and know you're not alone. So people can do it whichever way they want to do it. So that was a really good point. So, Meredith, what were the positive changes that you started experiencing after starting NARP, and how long did they take to happen?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. Positive experiences, so many. Because when you come home to yourself, I mean, there's the divine right there, and there's freedom right there. So,
Mhm.
like I said, I had been a spiritual person and had an understanding of all of this, but NARP, the connection with my inner child was probably one of the biggest things that was a positive that is everlasting. It's forever. And the relationship that we have and me having my own back, it just, I instantly after doing our, even doing like the last modules and stuff, I saw an increase in my money because I'm now different. I was receiving different
Yeah.
opportunities. It was, I bought a house and I hadn't
Wow.
even lived anywhere. Like I couldn't afford a house. It was, so those are
Mm.
all like kind of really real world material. But my relationships also completely changed. People in
Mm.
my life completely changed. And I mean, for the better, because when you really realize what you have been giving away or under the influence of, and it's not really you, oh, no, 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 no. When you taste that freedom, it's like you can't unknow that. You can't unknow what you know. So now I have a responsibility to to share it and to talk about it. So it was just a complete wake up call for like my soul. And I know I like there's just so many positive things I could say about what happened after NARP, even the podcast. I wrote a book.
Mm.
Those were kind of all happening at the same time. I had them as little brain children, but doing the work made it a reality, made it flow, connecting with my body, taking my endometriosis healing to another level, healing for real. I had done a lot of work on my own, healing from sexual abuse, took everything to another level, but biggest of all, becoming sovereign and becoming my own family, becoming what I never got from my parents,
Mm.
specifically my mother, becoming my own mom, becoming with my inner child. What does she need? Becoming that for
Mm.
yourself. There is nothing else. Nothing else. That was probably the most powerful is that family piece that, you know, is so that's part of how we got here. We exist because of our parents, right? We exist here on this planet
Mm.
because
Mhm.
of someone else. So that wound, healing that wound, and again, it's a journey and it's complex, but with NARP, it began to just all fade away. And it was so freeing.
Mm. I love that. So, how long did it take for you to start feeling those kind of feelings?
I immediately, when I started doing the work, like I would get just like how you always say, they're gonna know when you cut those cords, they're gonna
Yes,
know.
yes,
That
yes.
happened while doing the work. So I felt that right
Mm.
after I completed is when all the money stuff started happening right after I completed it. But then, like I said, it's a lifestyle. It's not magic. Like if you
Mm.
treat your body like crap and you treat yourself like crap,
Yeah,
it's not like your life's going to be crap. So
so true.
doing it even still now, it spans years and it just keeps, I feel like, getting better and better as I come across situations in my life where
Mm.
I do a forgiveness process or I do quantum freedom healing and I learn something that was hidden that it doesn't mean you're not healed. It just means that the shadows become a little lighter or they become more willing to be seen and they show themselves to you because now they're like, okay, we're all on the same side now. Like we're all here for each other. And that unity of all those parts of yourselves that fragmentation coming, everything integrated, that's forever. And it just keeps getting better.
Mm, it's so true. And what, I love about NAP and these processes is we just don't have to work it out in our head anymore. We just do the work through our body and then everything just organically follows. And it's really
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
so simple. Yeah.
I know. And we've been taught to do everything the hard and the long way and the analysis paralysis and the stinking thinking, which just makes things worse and never upshifts them. Okay, so what was the best thing about NARP if you had to name one thing that was the best thing?
Wow. Spiritual sovereignty. The
Whoa.
sovereignty. Yeah, when you're tuned into source, you
Mm,
are unstoppable. You are unstoppable. I've come face to face with demons with, like, no
mm,
joke, with the most negative, and there is nothing that can defeat you when you realize there is nothing
yes.
bigger than you because you are everything.
Mm,
Just nothing can defeat you. Nothing can defeat you. You are it. The power struggle's over. It's instant freedom.
mm,
And it's in your body. It's from as you always say, from the inside out. And you feel the whole universe within you and out here. And it is like such a privilege to just
mm.
even wake up to that.
Beautifully expressed. And people may think that's woo woo. It's this, it's actually our organic state of who we were coded and designed to be. We've just had layers of false programming and trauma that have disconnected us from that.
Yeah.
Oh, I had goosebumps while you said that. That is one of the best ways I've ever heard it expressed. Okay, so I love asking this question, Meredith. It's a bit of a fun question. So, what was the worst thing about NARP?
Oh, great question. The worst thing about NARP. So I touched a little on the purge. The purge can be intense, like just the emotional purge
Yeah.
for me specific, and especially as being an empath, definitely very, very difficult. And also looking at, and this is specific in regards to family.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've done even continued work on, looking
Mhm.
at other people, seeing other people's happy families, healthy families, people
Yeah.
that have
Yeah.
that and
Yeah.
wanting that. And, and getting into, and it's like, there's something that I say where it's like, you have to give yourself permission to not have it together all the time. And that to me is real healing. It's not just elimination of crap. It's like, being
Mhm.
okay with the crap that's there and that it's not
Mhm.
victimizing yourself, but being
Mhm.
standing in like what, and I feel like that's also something I realized also with the spiritual sovereignty through NARP
Mhm.
is that, and it's like, I am source and this happened to me and I can be there for those parts that are still sad about
Beautiful.
it, and
So
that was
beautiful.
definitely that was the hardest. That was the hardest. But then going back to,
Mhm.
myself, coming back home to myself, coming back home to I'm experiencing life and realizing the family that I can create, the family that I can have, redefining what family is, that I am
Mhm.
family because I am source, because I know that I came here to experience that relationship of mother and daughter and father, of
Mhm.
sisters, and I will
Mhm.
have that. And I do have that now, and I'm attracting that, and it's growing. It was just
Mhm.
going that push and pull from the past saying, and the universe is always going to show you, it's a mirror where you have pieces that you need to look at. So seeing happy families and being able to be truly happy and knowing that that's what I'm going to create on my own, that it's not just going to be by default. And it's actually something that I feel like, in my own opinion, is like more special because it's like I'm chosen at that point. Our family, it's like earned. It's not just this by default. We're blood related, so we're family.
Mm.
When you have family in that way, it's something that's created and cultivated.
Yeah. And to heal for real, we have to face the truth, and the truth can be
Yeah.
quite shocking. And
Yeah.
rather than sugarcoat it and do spiritual bypass, it's like, well, this is what it is. And it's not about blaming our family, because they also had the programming and they were brought up by unconscious codependents and narcissists. It's just
Yep.
continued on from generation to generation. But I want to
Yep.
give also, to people hope that even if you're 60, you're 70, you're 80, and we've had NARPers that have had their whole life and their families and destroyed by narcissistic marriages and all sorts of things, that when you heal you, what often happens is that people who are capable of being authentic will come back into your life from family. We've seen alienated kids come back. But also, too, even if you feel like there's no chance for you to be a parent now, you don't have a partner, in the connection to the oneness of all that is and source, you actually feel like you belong and you're
Yeah.
loved anyway. And then from there, more comes to match that. So
Yes.
this maybe leads into the next question. What are you still, or like now, what are you working on in healing with Quanta Freedom Healing now? What's your next expansion that you're going after?
So definitely does lead into the next question. Absolutely, reforming the idea of family and all of that, but also in my business. And I mentioned how like all this stuff improved. But like I said, it's like when you realize what's on the menu at every other kind of level, you're like, oh
Yep.
wait, but I could actually really have what like I truly wanted, you know?
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
my business, yeah, that's an area business. And I think especially because of the financial system we currently have and all these crazy things happening in the world, a lot of people are hurting. And
Yeah.
I think when that happens, us sometimes we like have our boundaries get a little bit more fluid and we especially as
Mm,
caring people that just want to help everyone and but it's like realizing again coming back to from the inside out I have to take care of Meredith before I
yeah.
just give everything away to everyone because everyone is hurting. That doesn't
Yeah.
help anyone if I run myself over.
Yeah.
So really practicing that more. And of course, I do that, but it could absolutely be taken to another level. And it's something that I'm working on even today.
What are you excited about in your life in the future, Meredith?
Oh my gosh. I'm excited about, I'm just excited about freedom. I'm excited about prosperity. I'm excited about a new connection to myself because like this work, it just grows like a tree. It just keeps growing. So even if I have all this crap going on in my life, it really doesn't matter if I have me. And I've lived that. I've
So
like
true.
tested this. It's so true. It's so true.
So true.
It's not about not having any narcissist or any crap. It's like
Yeah.
having the capacity to hold all of that and yourself and still be okay and be sovereign and
Mm.
be free and not be like completely swept up by all in the crap tornado.
Mm.
It's amazing. So I'm constantly excited about that and just the growth of the work and revealing new parts of myself and new connections. Yeah, and freedom because that births everything else. It births the prosperity, it births healing, it births absolutely everything.
And that is so beautiful that we have that ability to be able to be connected to self and not affected by the outside. Because as a thriver, it doesn't mean that there aren't challenges and stuff happens. That's just life. But rather
Yeah.
than being derailed or taken out by it, it's always a call for an upshift to something even greater, when you
Yeah.
understand the Thriver philosophy and just clear what gets triggered and bring in more light of your higher self and just go up a notch. And I love that because you're right, the world is in chaos at the moment and a lot of people are going through a lot of challenges. And what I love seeing with NARP members is how they can upshift through it and then get the key to the door that opens what they want. So, Meredith, what would you like to share with the audience as your closing message?
Well, I'll actually say something we chatted about, and it has to do with our pain and our suffering. And it's something that I realized that when I started to talk with my pain and become friends with my pain and really ask
Mhm.
my pain what it needed, what is this about? What is going
Mhm.
on? And
Mhm.
I realized my pain was actually my unrealized power. It was just unrecognized by me. And that's why it was felt as pain. It was pain because I just hadn't done the work to realize what that energy actually was and to unblock certain parts of myself. So that's what all pain really is. It's resistance. We wouldn't feel pain without any kind of resistance. So that's what I would leave everyone with is really that the only way out is through. And that's something that NARP, oh my gosh, it helped me so much with that. And it's something that I was able to connect to.
Mm. Meredith, beautiful. And thank you for coming on and being so inspirational. And I love what you are doing in the world now. You've got your podcast. It's really fearless and it's beautiful. Now, where can people find you to listen to your material? Because if you want it raw and powerful and true, this is the girl for you. She's fearless and I love it.
Yes. So I'm everywhere. I'm YouTube. I'm Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can go to my website, meredithochoa.com. All that stuff is there. And if you're there, like in 3 seconds, a pop-up will come up and you can subscribe to my newsletter and I do an every phase series that reveals how I healed myself from endometriosis, talking about all of some of the spiritual components we talked about today, certainly talk about NARP. But I'm actually living the artwork as I go through each phase. So that's definitely something to check out. And then I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm everywhere.
Amazing. So how do you spell your surname as Ochola?
OA, OCHOA.
OA, no L.
Yeah.
Ochoa. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. So people can find you. That is amazing. All right. So thank you, everybody watching, so much for watching this interview. And if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and families and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're liking these Thriver Talks, because your support helps us continue to bring you more great interviews and insights of how to heal for real in accelerated timeframes from the inside. And thank you for being a part of our incredible community. And for those of you who want to subscribe to my newsletter, all you need to do is look at the link in the description. Meredith, thank you for coming on. And I'm sure that we will talk again soon. We've got lots of incredible discussions that we could be having to share with people.
Would love that. Thank you so much. It's been tremendous. And thank everyone for listening. It's been awesome.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Lots of love.